Citizens speak out. People across the globe continue to demand the universal recognition of human rights, along with government reforms that include greater honesty, as well as citizen participation in countries such as Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Belarus, Botswana, Cambodia, China, Cuba, Egypt, Libya, Mauritania, Mexico, Palestine, Syria, Uganda, the US and Yemen.
As U.S. government employees protest states reducing their wages in an effort to eliminate budget deficits, U.S. President Barack Obama has begun addressing their concerns by calling for higher tax rates for the nation's most wealthy, who he says are better able to withstand income reductions. Meanwhile, a group of supporters attending a fundraising event hosted by President Obama on Thursday, April 21st, called for the U.S. government to respect the rights of Private First Class Bradley Manning, a soldier accused of releasing sensitive information to the press, by ending the harsh treatment he is receiving in prison, including being kept in solitary confinement and forced to sleep without clothing at night.
In Africa, Ugandans protest the rearrest of Minority Party leader Kizza Besigye, who had been leading calls for Walk to Work Day as a means of protesting higher fuel prices.
Addressing the Berlin 6th International Conference on Wednesday, April 20th, Palestinian Authority Prime Minister Salam Fayyad spoke out against the use of violence to achieve independence from Israel, saying that diplomacy is more effective in achieving statehood goals. The conference is held in the village of Berlin, where weekly peaceful demonstrations also occur to protest issues such as Israeli seizure of land for expansion of settlements. Meanwhile, in Israel, around 300 citizens gathered on Thursday to sign a petition welcoming the declaration of an independent Palestinian state based upon the borders of Israel set during the 1949 armistice, which ended the Arab-Israeli War.
On Thursday, Azerbaijani journalists fasted to demand the release of journalist Aynullah Fatullayev, who has been imprisoned for 4 years despite a European Court for Human Rights ruling that he should be freed.
A group of 5 senior Bahraini clerics released a statement denouncing the destruction of mosques being carried out by government and Saudi forces to repress peaceful protests calling for reform.
On Friday in Syria, security forces used live ammunition against tens of thousands of peaceful pro-democracy protesters across the nation, with witnesses and human rights groups reporting at least 75 people being killed, including 5 shot by snipers from above a medical clinic in a suburb of Damascus. U.S. President Barack Obama and British Secretary of State William Hague each spoke out against the violence, saying that it must end now as they urged the government to respect the rights of the citizens to exercise freedom of speech.
We have signaled that crimes will not be condoned.
Near the western town of Walut, Libya, revolutionary forces were able to assume control after around 100 government soldiers fled across the border into Tunisia. Meanwhile, Libya's state television reported that the government is proposing a political solution to end the conflict. Among its suggestions are a new constitution and elections that would be held in 6 months if the military intervention by the North Atlantic Treaty Alliance, or NATO, is halted. However, Libyan forces continue an intense siege on Misrata, the nation's third